What's up, everybody? This is Warpath 2 or Adam, and welcome to What Up Wednesday. This is episode 20 since I get all the sweet, memorable episodes. Today we don't have David. Dick Tix is not available, so we've got to fill in here with Girls Gonna Game Bro. I got it right this time. I double checked before I got you on Skype, and she's gonna be doing the comm with me. What's up?
Not much. Good thing David isn't here. He's not as cool as me anyway, so
It's true. It's
it's
true.
true.
And automatically, because you're a girl, I have more views that are going to come to this video than any other video I've gotten recently.
I don't know, but we'll see.
No, that's just how it works. Girls on YouTube, that's how it works. I've seen it. No, but guys, Girl's Gonna Game Bro, she's really awesome. Follow her on Twitter, and I'll let you plug all your stuff at the end so we can get that done. But she's gonna be good, and we have a good topic. I let her pick this. It was kind of a dual topic as far as this goes. It was actually two questions from my good buddy Useful Door. One was, "What's your biggest regret in life?" and the other is, "Do you need college to succeed?" So I think we're going to talk more about the college part of it. But I hear this kind of taps into your biggest regret in life too. Is that correct?
Yes, definitely.
All right. So tell me about that. What is your biggest regret in life?
Um, Probably going to college because once you get out of if you don't get right back into school right after high school and you take time off, it's so hard to get back in the flow of studying and education. It's just, all the things that you've been used to your whole life. And then you take a couple years off and you get back into it. And it's like, whoa, you're in over your head and nothing makes sense anymore.
I completely agree. That's one of the biggest things that's kind of, I guess, stopped me from going back, although I never really have time with work. It's just really odd. But I see where you're coming from, because a lot of the things they talked about in school, I'd be completely lost about now. It's been almost 10 years for me.
Yeah.
So to me, it's like, that's crazy. So I can totally agree with you that that's probably my biggest regret. I don't really regret it, which is what's going to come into our next topic, but I can see where you're coming from. Um, I personally don't think you need college to succeed in life. I just don't think it's as big of a deal as it used to be. There's actually there's a higher unemployment rate now for college graduates than there is for people with experience. So you kind of get trapped in this catch-22. But it also depends on your definition of success. So I'm going to ask you an open-ended question. What is your definition of success?
Um, it's not necessarily career wise, but I think it's being happy overall with where you stand in your life. But usually that ties into your career as well, because if you have a miserable career, you're not going to be happy. There's no way. I
That's
mean,
true.
being stable is, a definitely a pinpoint in happiness to me, anyways, because stability kind of like, I mean, no one likes, having rainy days and then sunny days and rainy days and sunny days and not knowing where they're going one day to the next.
Absolutely. No, I mean, you're 100% correct on that. It's hard to be happy, especially as an adult, with someone who has kind of gotten into this career mode, to all of a sudden just not know what to do. I got laid off from my last job last June, and it was crazy for me. I had 2 weeks off to just kind of get everything together. Luckily, I was able to find a job extremely quick, but it was insane to me that I got laid off. I didn't know what I was going to do with myself.
Yeah.
And it was one of those things where it kind of, I don't know, it got to me a little bit. But in the end, like I said, I ended up getting a different job, and I'm good now. But I feel like success, like you said, it's a self-defined thing. Stability is part of it. But personally, for me, I didn't necessarily come from a home with a lot of money. And a lot of people I went to high school with are kind of deadbeat losers now.
Yeah.
And I've got my own apartment. I've got a stable job, a good career. I've got like all this other stuff that a lot of people my age from my school didn't accomplish. A lot of those guys still live with their family, which is insane to me, to be 26 and you can't live on your own. But it all depends too on different situations. I can't just judge everyone on that. But so for me, I feel like I've been successful in my life so far.
Yeah. Well, it really just depends on, breaking away from where you saw yourself, like 10 years ago, where I saw myself now wasn't here, but it's also, to be happy, you can't hold on to that past idea of where you're going to be, because you never know, like in high school, you're like, oh yeah, I'm gonna like, have a career and be married and blah, 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 and kids and stuff like that by the time you're like 35. And you've got to let go of that past idea of where you should be and realize that where you are is where you should be, in my opinion. But the whole college thing to me, I think it depends on what you're wanting to go into and whether or not you need it. Like what, what you're happy with career wise. Sometimes you do need college, stuff like that. But I think the reason that a lot of America right now has college students that have graduated and don't have jobs is because a lot of them didn't know what they wanted to do. So they went into something like nursing and stuff like that, which is like an overpopulated workforce right now because everybody just kind of went to be nurses that I know of in my high school. All the girls went to be nurses because they really didn't figure out what they wanted to do by the time that they got into school. And they was like, okay, well, I'll just go get my nursing license. And, after I get my nursing license, I'll go from there. We usually don't go from there because by the time you finish nursing school, you have to have a stable job just to get by in life, basically. You don't have time to go back to school to do what you figured out later on, what you actually want to do. So it depends on what you're going into and not just going into college and doing something easy because you're like, well, I'll do that right now. Later on, I'll figure out what I want to do. If you're going to go to school, you definitely need to know what you want to do before you get into it.
Well, and there's a point to that. I don't know. When I was younger, my career aspirations changed from high school to college. Yeah. Like I remember when I was in ninth grade, I wanted to be an architect. And then I realized you didn't draw, you just like did shit on the computer. I was like, well, that's boring as hell. And then I wanted to do like graphic design, but I was like, eh. And then I didn't really know what I wanted to do. As I got older, I learned I liked being a manager. I liked leading a team and things like that.
Yeah.
And so the call center kind of thing that I do is good. I like it a lot most of the time. Sometimes it gets to me other than other times, but most of the time I really like it. I like helping people. That's what I like to do. So I get where you're coming from. College is not necessarily the be all end all of your life. Just keep that in mind for anybody who's listening.
Well, some careers don't necessarily need college to be successful in it. It depends on what you're going into. There are some careers, you have to have college, but that kind of goes back to where I originally started, saying my biggest regret was, not going back to school. But I also don't believe you should jump straight into college, too. So it's kind of like a double-ended sword with that because you can't rush into college if you don't know what you want to do. Because if you jump right into it after high school, your aspirations do change as you get older because that's, you're not, when you're 18, 17 years old, graduate from high school, of course you don't know what you want to do. You don't even know who you are. And by the time that you figure out who you are, that's whenever you figured out what you actually like in life. So it's really bad because, like, you don't want to get out of the practice of school, but you also don't want to jump into it either. Right. If you do decide that that's, that whatever career path that you actually want to do, you do have to have college to do that. It's I don't know, it's kind of like it's up in the air kind of thing with me.
Yeah. I had a good friend. I kind of stopped being friends with him because he's an idiot. But he went to school right away and he squandered it. He went to 2 years of community college. Then his father paid for him to go to UT, University of Texas, and he squandered that too. And it's because he didn't know what he wanted to do. He changed from wanting to be like a geneticist to a biomedical engineer, like all these crazy things. And I don't want to say this last thought I'm leaving you without a preface that this doesn't apply to everybody, but it's not always the best idea to aim high.
Yeah.
Some people
are
not just going to reach that, or in a certain field they want to go into. Aim high for your passion, but always have a realistic plan.
Yeah, and don't just jump into it because, oh my God, it's what's making the most money right now. Do something that you're happy with and think about it. And don't jump into anything without making conscious decisions because as teenagers, that seems to be what we like to do is jump into stuff without thinking about it.
So you're saying we shouldn't YOLO?
Yeah, and definitely don't YOLO whenever it comes to your path in life. That's because you will end up YOLOing straight into debt and bankruptcy and miserable flings of relationships and just, not good endings. Not really, the whole Disney movie that most girls see in their life. If they YOLO too hard, they will YOLO straight into debt. So,
all right, I think we need to wrap it up right there. You want to hit an outro, plug your channel?
GirlsGonnaGameBro. You can find me on everything with that name. So,
all right, perfect. Well, that's it, guys. I'm Warpath Hero Adam. One thing I'm going to plug, go to my 2 Minute Tuesday video where I'm doing a giveaway for the new Far Cry 3 Blood Dragon, which is an amazing game. And that's it. I guess I'll see you guys next week on David's channel. And whatever. YOLO. I'll talk to you guys later.
YOLO!
Peace.